Welcome to Crazy Shit in Real Estate, a weekly podcast where I walk you through some of the wildest, most unbelievable stories you'll hear from the world of real estate. If you like real estate and you love crazy, this is the podcast for you. Before we get any further into this episode, I've got some information to share.
Oh, it's true. Real estate is super competitive and harder than you expected. That's why I created Leigh Brown University. It's everything you need to take you from point A to point whatever your goal is. You could be new to the business or a seasoned vet. I'll help you break through to the next level so that your professional life can look exactly like you desire. Enroll in Leigh Brown University today. I'll help you get there. Tell my listeners a little story. What crazy shit has Cricket seen in real estate?
Well, I wrote up 3 different stories just to make sure I didn't write. I just wrote them down so
you get a top 3.
Right, I've got 3 of them. If I can get through all 3 of them, I know you've got a certain amount of time here. So the first one that I'll mention is the one that all of the title people that are listening in. Anytime I get around a title person, we're having a cocktail and they're like, "Oh, what's a crazy story?" Because for the last 3 years, just I've watched I've watched everything you do. I don't have a crush or anything. You're very knowledgeable and you explain things quite well, like you just did with all of the listeners who I forgot might be listening and not know what an MRP is, that type of thing. So I've been practicing my explaining things. So let's see if I can do this. So I was sitting down in front of the title people and let me back up and explain the seller. I met the seller and we're going to call him John A. I met the seller. His middle initial is important. I met the seller and he said, "I've got this condo. My father passed away 9 years ago. I had everything deeded to me, correct? All that stuff. He's the lawyer that I used and all that." We went through that process and I got the listing. I made a mistake. I checked the county paperwork, but when I checked it, I saw that it said John E instead of John A, and I didn't notice that it said John E instead of John A, and that middle initial is a huge difference because his father was John E, which means the property was still deeded in his father's name through some weird happenstance from 9 years ago with a lawyer. Didn't know any of this until the moment we were sitting at title closing. Right. Thank you for bowing your head like that. So we're sitting at title closing and the title girl says, "John, if you want to, I'm going to go get the settlement paperwork and all that, and I've got everything signed here. If you want to call me with that social security number, I'll put it on that paperwork and you'll be good to go." And when she walked out the door, I said, "John, you don't know your social? You're a grown man." And he said, "Well, it's not my social. It's my dad's social." And it took me just a half a second. And "Why would you need your dad's social?" And he said, "Well, that was my dad's name. I just signed on all that paperwork." And my stomach sunk. It's your dad's name? "Well, yeah, dad's Johnny. I'm John A." Oh, what? So of course the title girl comes in with checks and everything. And I said, "Just hold on to that. There's a major problem here that I did not know. I just pulled up the county stuff on my, little app you can use on your phone for that stuff. And I'm sweating." And I said, "I don't know what's going on, but somehow," because of course I had asked him, "Now you said that you're a lawyer and you said that this and that, yeah, I did everything. You went to court. I paid him $9,000. Surely it was done, right?" So long and short is, this is a small town. It was a little tiny town in Missouri. And again, it was a Thursday, so the court was open. We were able to call the lawyer that did all this stuff. He was able to get everything done while the buyers were sitting in the waiting room. We got all the paperwork correctly changed. John A, whatever, signed everything correctly. And if I'm not mistaken, what he had done when he signed, I was told, was either a misdemeanor or a felony. It's a crime to sign somebody else's name in a legal document situation, of course. And it's just a small difference, but it was his deceased father. That's a major difference. And I think it's one of those things that I use to explain the little things that realtors are supposed to do through the process. That's not necessarily my job to look at that paperwork, but it's totally my job to do all of those things. And I could babble about it because, of course, it's something that if you don't do this for a living, you're like, "Oh yeah, you just grab a napkin, we'll write this contract. You go to the title company, they're going to take care of it." And no, sir, this is, again, this is a lot more complex situation than you realize, folks. So that's my first one.
It's also the mark of a professional, though, because while that happened one time, you will not ever let that happen again. So a professional takes a moment of and learns from it to make themselves better at detail spotting in the future. And also, this is a reason to tell people they want to live in small town Missouri, because you can get something fixed. If I'm over here in a big city, I've got a lawyer scrambling for death certificates, and we're going to have to prove this and prove that. And it would be a several days delay and nightmare, but a small town can make things happen. So you get to encourage your future clients, and you're demonstrating that professionals always learn. So what's story number 2?
And small disclaimer on that story, you're exactly right, but I still feel like that was a complete miracle. And I told the buyer or the seller at that moment, this is months of problems. I don't know what happened, but we're not going to be able to close. Those buyers are probably going to quit you and all that. And I don't mean to panic, but we've got to figure this out now. So call your lawyer. And again, I never expected that to get finished that day.
And it was also going to church and thank the Lord that this worked out.
Do that for sure.
Oh, you're enjoying this little clip? Well, the rest of the story is available on any of your podcast apps. Just go search for and subscribe to Crazy Shit in Real Estate with Leigh Brown.